We apologize for that sound hiccup that impeded the start of the interview with the PS Hassan Abubakar Hassan. But nevertheless, we are back. Let's pick up the conversation from where we stopped. And PS, you were telling us the importance of special economic zones to the investment agenda of the Republic. Go ahead.
Correct.
Yes.
First of all, investment 001, whenever there is a challenge, it's an investment opportunity. So I can see there's an investment opportunity in your sound system for people to invest in. But back to our agenda.
Yes.
I was saying that there are three economic deficits that as a government we are trying to transform. That is the fiscal deficit, the saving to investment deficit, and the balance of payment deficit as far as our balance of trade. And that needs investment, which can either be public or private. When you talk about public investment, it's about the tax, which are where we are not optimally taxed as Kenyans, and we're talking about also borrowing, which as a matter of fact, we have been leveraged and we have stopped digging. What is happening right now is that the hole is just digging itself. And the third way of raising public finance or public resources for public investment is through privatization of state-owned entities. And the fourth way is through public-private partnership. But there's the fifth way, which is strictly private sector, is direct private investment. And for this private investment to flow, it needs to be attracted, it needs to be incentivized, it needs to be de-risked, it needs to be enabled, and it needs to be facilitated. And that is why there is this special economic zone program. It's an investment attraction tool to attract investors into that zone, because that zone is a geographical area within our country, which is outside the custom control area. The zone has fiscal and non-fiscal incentives. The business regulations there are relaxed. The taxation regime is also favorable. We also have world-class infrastructure supporting the zone. We have market access for that zone. But most importantly, when investors set up there, they benefit from the economies of agglomeration, where they are being clustered together, plus the value chain integration. So it attracts investors because it reduces their cost of production.
All right. Yeah. Tell us about particularly the Jumbo African Auto Auction.
Yes.
It's a promise kept by the president. He made the promise in January.
Yes.
But what does this venture mean, particularly for Naivasha and the country at large? Yeah.
First of all, it's a promise fulfilled. So when the president promises something, he fulfills. He said it in January, that by April it will happen, and it has happened. But what it means, basically, whatever we do according to our manifesto, it must have the 6 impact parameters. Does it reduce hunger? Does it create jobs? Does it reduce cost of living? Does it expand our tax base? Does it increase our export base? And does it help in our foreign exchange balance? So this investment, it means that it creates jobs for our youth, but also it means that because that is an African auction, and it is there to serve the East African region and Africa, by extension Africa. So it will help in our export base, but most importantly is about managing the foreign exchange earnings, where people will not be looking for dollars to import cars. They will just do it in Kenyan shilling. So that's what it means.
You talk about stopping digging the hole, but of course to stop digging the hole, the special economic zones must operate optimally.
Yes.
What are the deliberate interventions by government, particularly your State Department, to ensure that special economic zones in the Republic are operating optimally?
I think His Excellency the President has directed and given us instruction to do 3 things for the special economic zone to perform optimally. One is to make sure that the zones are competitive, globally competitive, to be able to attract the investments. Yeah? So we have been looking at our legal framework, and in the Finance Act of 2023, we have improved our competitiveness, and also right now we have comprehensively done our legal framework. We have overhauled it to enhance that competitive edge. But 2, we need to operationalize the zones. Many zones have been gazetted, but they have not been operationalized for investors. So the President has been pushing us to say that we need to operationalize these zones, and you can see the Naivasha Special Economic Zone was operationalized in January, and those investors who are admitted, the first investor is already also operational and started creating jobs for our youth. But thirdly, it's also about resolving a challenge in our national investment policy. One of the challenges is is limited industrial space. You know, for our economic growth, one of the principles of our economic growth is industrial growth. For us to grow industrially, we need to build our industrial base. For us to get our industrial base, we need to increase our industrial spaces. But industrial spaces were limited. Yeah, in fact, obvious industries were just concentrated in Nairobi, 85%. So he sends the president in his national industrialization agenda had asked us to expand. To expand that, and you can see he had asked us to gazette 5 more. For example, in the EPZ program, we only had 1 EPZ
in Athi
River, which has been developed.
Yeah.
Now we have 5 more. One in Kirinyaga, the other one is in Murang'a, the other one is on Nasingishu, another one is in Nakuru. Right? So he has budgeted, he has given us money, 3 billion to develop those zones, and in the next 6 months, we believe that those zones will also be operational.
Very interesting. Going back to Naivasha, because today the president launched a housing program under the special economic zones.
Yes.
We have Jumbo, AAA auctioning cars there. The other question is, when do we expect other investors to take up the incentives the government has offered at the special economic zone and start operating from within the zone?
His Excellency the President, he was very clear today that the next investors you will see is on the manufacturing of or assembly of electric vehicles. So we have built a pipeline. Yeah, we have built a pipeline. We have through our investment outreach, investment mission, and investment roadshows. We have long-listed investors and short-listed them. We are now screening them. So we are expecting in the next 3 years. For this year, we'll be able to onboard an electric vehicle assembler, but we are also targeting investment in our priority value chain, like in the leather products, in the textile and apparel, in the pharmaceutical. All those in the next 3 to 4 years, we are committing to fill up that zone. And there's confidence in filling up the zone because the president has added us 5,000 more acres because we had only 1,000. But because we had a plan, we are going to fill up the zone in the next 5 years. He has added up another 5.
When you mention CESA and EPZ, of course, they sound different. But when you go to special economic zones and the full meaning of EPZ, there appears to be a lot of confusion around CESA and EPZ. As a State Department, what are you doing to create a difference in the minds of Kenyans that these are 2 probably collaborative but distinct jobs?
So it's good to understand the history. First, it started with an EPZ program from 1990s. It was very effective, and it is a program used to attract industrial investment, which was export-oriented, right? And at that time, there was no East African bloc.
Yes.
So if you export to Tanzania, if you sell to Tanzania, it was considered an export. Yeah? And we were supposed to sell local only 20. You are allowed to sell locally only 20%. But with the East African region, with 6 countries now 8, the 20% is very thin. You can see now the 20% which is local, it does not make sense for an investor. That is 1. 2, people were also complaining that the goods which were sold were manufactured there. Why are they not being sold into our country? And also the goods which are manufactured there, they are not using our raw materials. Yeah? So there's no backward integration. So there was a need, and a strategic decision was made to have a special economic zone program so that we can enhance the backward integration. So the difference between the 2 is threefold. 1 is on the eligible activities. In the EPZ program, we are just limited. It's only manufacturing and maybe services. But in SEZ, we have many activities that can happen. We allowed economic activities to happen in the SEZ program. The second difference is about their fiscal incentives. The fiscal is a bit different. For example, the corporate tax is 0 in the EPZ, and in the SEZ is 10. But the third one is about the market access. So in EPZ, you can only export 100 and only sell local 10%. And for SEZ, you can export 100 and also sell to the domestic market for 100. Okay, so there's a confusion. People are saying that there's a confusion. So what we have done as government is, since the president has directed us to recognize that one NEPZ is a scheme under SEZ. So when he mentions SEZ, it also includes EPZ.
Oh, EPZ is a scheme within the special
SEZ, yes,
economic
and there was a cabinet approval on the same. That is in the immediate. In the short term to medium term, we are going to merge these entities so that will be one entity with two programs. One is on EPZ program and the other one is on SEZ program.
Does it mean then that the EPZs will also be under the authority of the Special Economic Zones Authority, SEZ?
For now. No,
For now.
is a recognition. You are just recognized as a scheme in the SEZ. They will operate under their own institutional and legal framework, but in the medium term, on the short term, we're going to merge. There will be only one legal framework, one entity with two directorates. Yeah.
The industrial, or rather the green industrialization agenda,
Yes.
how are the special economic zones taking that up? And for example, Naivasha, for example, because it's one of the operational special economic zones, how are they picking up that agenda?
Naivasha, we are packaging Naivasha as an eco-industrial park, and we are leveraging on the geothermal power, because that park is powered by 100% geothermal, so it's green. Yeah, in fact, that park, as I had said in the morning, is the most attractive park from the south of Sahara through the north of Limpopo to the end of Nile. So that is what we are packaging it, and we are working closely with IFC to come up with eco legal framework for the same. Yeah.
At this moment, PS,
Yes.
because the SEZs are not operating optimally, and of course you've revealed to us the plan by the President and yourselves to expand it across the country. Yes. The areas you mentioned, Moranga, you've mentioned Kirinyaga, Uasin Gishu.
Yes.
Are these the only areas you're targeting in the meantime?
For now, we have 5 more EPZs in addition to the one. But in the next financial year, once they are fully developed, we are going to develop in other areas, depending on the feasibility studies and the market demand, because an investment must make returns. Yeah. But going back to the green industrialization agenda, you know, at COP28, His Excellency the President has committed to champion the green industrialization agenda, right? And as one way of de-risking investment in the greening space, we as a country now, we have a vehicle with the help of World Bank. We have developed a vehicle called Green Equity Investment Fund, right, to de-risk SMEs in green opportunities, in electric vehicles, in smart agriculture, in waste management, in building construction efficiency. So those are the areas which we are targeting for SMEs. So we have a fund of $40 million seed capital. At the spring, spring meetings I was there, I did a roadshow targeting Americans and European investment funds to crowd them in, so that they can add up the fund. So we are targeting to have at least to start with a $200 million US, targeting SMEs with a ticket size of around 2 to 5 million, so that we can de-risk them to invest in green opportunities in Kenya. Yeah.
Because you dub it as something critical to the growth of the economy. Yeah. When you assess the embracing or the take-up of the whole idea of special economic zones authority, special economic zones amongst Kenyans, do you feel like Kenyans are ready for this takeoff brought about by the Special Economic Zones Authority?
Yes, they're ready, and we mean business, and today's investment and the operationalization of that investment, it signals to the other investors that this is real, yeah, and there's something happening in Kenya, and the Special Economic Zone program, guys have figured it out, and they have started, and you either tag along or you'll be dragged along.
You tag along or
you'll be dragged along.
That's interesting. I want to give you a minute and a half probably, PS, to talk about your grand plan for investment. Probably in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years, what the general plan is by your State Department to not just gain acceptability around the special economic zones, but to be, for the special economic zones to gain their position as should in growing Kenya's GDP.
I think our plan is very simple. We have a goal, and our goal is to increase the level of private investment into the Kenyan economy, right? Either domestic or foreign, either new investment or expansion of an existing investment. And our strategy is simple, it's threefold. We have an attraction strategy. Once you are attracted, we have a facilitation strategy through our facilitation mechanism. And once you are facilitated and you need to be enabled, we will enable you through our de-risking mechanism. And one of the de-risking mechanism is this green equity investment fund, so that we can co-invest together. We have putting our skin in the game to show that we have confidence in your investment. So it's simple. We will attract you, we will facilitate you, and we will enable you through our de-risking mechanism. Yes.
A quick one, just before we wind up.
Yes.
The area around the Naivasha Special Economic Zone.
Yes.
I think there was a call by the president in January for also investors to take up the issue of accommodation, because, for example, the auction launched today,
yes,
and it begins next month.
Yes.
The people who will come there and probably spend a day or 2 days.
They will need
accommodation.
They will need restaurants.
So how is your department, together with other parent ministries, taking up the issue of encouraging growth around that area to accommodate the interests that are rising up?
We have put an enabling framework for that. Now, in our law, our special economic zone is divided into custom control area and non-custom control area. So non-custom is where you are not getting the tax incentives, but you are enabling that zone to mushroom. We're talking of those, like the affordable housing. The housing will not be under custom control area, because it's not on the business side. So that is what we're doing. So we are attracting more investment into the non-custom to serve. Even banks will come there so that they can serve that zone under non-custom control regime. Yes. Absolutely.
Thank you very much, PS, for joining us tonight. We appreciate your presence, despite the fact that you're very tired.
You don't want me to give a parting shot?
Yeah, you can. Why not?
I just want to tell Kenyans that they should trust the president. They should trust his plan. And when a plan is being implemented, there's a process. So they should also trust the process. Yeah.
The idea is to trust the process.
Yeah. And even if there's some pain in, there's no pain, no gain. But at the end of the day, things will be okay. And you can see things are opening up.
Thank you very much, PS. And by the way, PS Abubakar Hassan Abubakar is a minority.
Yes, indeed.
Appointed by President Ruto from the Bajuni in Lamu, in Lamu County.
Correct.
Thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Thank you very much.
And we appreciate your time. This is We Put a Cup on Prime Edition. Thank you very much for joining us. My name is John Jacob Kioria. Have yourself a fantastic night. God bless.